Yeah, let's just do it. Let's talk about 5 moves that you should try and make in Dynasty right now. Yeah, so I've been gone for a little while. I don't want to make regular mini content about go trade this player, go trade that player. This is something we've talked about before. I like to make more broader perspectives on how to play Dynasty, how to keep playing Dynasty better. Yeah, mainly because in most leagues, you send an offer on that player, it gets rejected, you can't work something out, and you're left in this position of sending way too much for this player you've been told to go get, or not doing anything. Now, the clean, cold, hard truth in Dynasty, most of the time, 95% of the time, the real answer is in a Dynasty league. There are no moves available to you that you should probably make, but there are plenty that you should explore. So I wanted to make a video about the 4 trade offers that I would make in most Dynasty leagues throughout the off-season, but more specifically, the ones that are relevant for right now at this point in the Dynasty season. So number 1, the first move I always look to see if I can make in a Dynasty league, and what I'd be looking to make right now is to try and tier up. Now obviously, depending on your roster situation, you might be not in a position to pay a lot of value for a premium player. It might not be the right direction you're going in. If you're building, for example, it's not always the best option. And if you're trying to compete in the extreme, for example, it's not always the best option. But in the middle, 70% of leagues, most teams should exist. You should always consider looking at where the elite players are in your Dynasty league and see if you can send an offer on one of them. Now, the first part of that means assessing who the elite players are. As far as I can see, and you can have your own buckets, obviously, but there are really only 4, maybe 5 candidates for players who have top shelf value, no one else is more valuable, and I have almost no concern with them being in that category for at least the next 2 years. And that's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, especially in Superflex, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. Now again, you could add some others in there. One of the more interesting questions I've been asked this off-season on the stream doing the Dynasty Grind every Wednesday, who has the potential to enter that category? Now, if you look at the rookie class, you've got the 3 quarterbacks, right? Any of them could turn out to be one of those elite players, but I'm not expecting a lot of breakout quarterbacks this year or over the next 2 years. Not a lot of elite breakout quarterbacks. I think we are well stocked right now for that level. One will emerge, but I don't have any clear answer for you. The single answer for most of Dynasty is Anthony Richardson has that ceiling. The problem is his floor is the worst. And so he's probably a really great name to put on the list, but I don't have him in that list. For me, looking at the Dynasty landscape, there are 2 players that clearly have that level of upside, and that's Kyle Pitt. He's due some touchdown regression still. He's on a team with limited options. This could be very well the year that he pays off in terms of feeling like he's good instead of actually just being well above average for what a tight end produces through the first 2 years of their career. And so you could put Kyle Pitts in that category if he has that top 2 at tight end difference-making season this year. He could easily enter that conversation. The other clear one for me is Bijan Robinson. There are still a few holdouts, but I really have very little fear that he won't convert most of them by the end of the season, if not by week 4. And so I think they're 2 of the easiest players to put on the list of who could become the elite level of players. And so I want to look at where they are in Dynasty and what I have on my team that's worth trading. It's based more on the roster assessment video I want to do, which is part of the how to make a decision on what to do about your roster right now. The second move, the second trade offer, especially during this period of the off-season or this period of the pre-season now I think we're officially in, is selling the right sophomores. We talk about this a lot with the breakout series that I run out every year. Identify the players that have a high likelihood to have a max ceiling the following year in the NFL based on their overall stat projections because of what they did in their rookie. The second year is when we see the highest production jump. It's when we see the highest volume jump. And it's when we see the biggest value jump overall, especially with players that we didn't quite get right or ADP didn't quite get right in their rookie evaluations who suddenly do well. They can move up an awful lot. So assessing that and having your own list or my list or someone's idea of what we should expect for these sophomores and then valuing them there before the rest of the class gets there, as it were, is a really good move to make. If you're really into Jahan Dotson, now's the time not just to send a good trade offer, but to send the trade offer that you feel would really be a steal if he hits what you expect of him this season. The sophomores are not a place you want to play the risk management game. It's where the big dynasty value gains can really happen, and so you want to play any cards you feel strongly about right now as strongly as you can. If you get it right on those younger players entering those big value changing years, especially in the second year. So sell the right sophomores, buy the right sophomores. For my point, I'm mostly more invested in the rookies this year, or disappointing third year players, or disappointing second year players much further down. Again, Burks is interesting, Pickens is interesting. I'm more about the Rondale Moore and Rashad Bateman life, who carry their own risk but a lot less value, and they fit the breakout patterns that I would expect this year based on our breakout series that you can go check out somewhere here on my YouTube channel, I'm sure. The third trade offer I'm always looking to make in Dynasty. There are very few elite quarterbacks and tight ends that make a difference even in leagues that don't have a tight end premium or don't have a super flex option. And if you can draw the lines for yourself using those criteria, what quarterbacks actually matter if you're only starting one quarterback in your Dynasty league. But you want to explore the onesie position. So Pat Freiermuth has been something of a Dynasty project of mine since his rookie season. I've consistently found good trade offers and good value for him to the point where I roster him in most leagues now. And this year, entering 2023, he's actually due some touchdown regression on a team that has a quarterback who might rely more heavily on those shorter passes because he's early on in his career year. And I think he's getting lost in the wasp of that middle class of tight ends. George Kittle has been another one who's actually drew negative touchdown regression in that he can't score touchdowns as effectively as he was doing last year and needs to get back to putting yards after the catch as his main bread and butter. But I think he's a tight end who's shown that level of upside recently, and every year and every game he's been healthy, and it's really just about the health that has held him back. I also think right now you can look to exploit the onesie positions by combining it with that first trade offer. Trade for elite assets. Tier up whenever possible. For example, if you're a big Joe Burrow believer, or I myself, if you look at my ranks and look at my Dynasty value versus ranks right now on my rank spreadsheet, or based on the article series I'm writing for DLF every week in the off season, Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott keep standing out to me as somewhat well valued but undersold in Dynasty ADP based on where they're going. Again, they're high-level, top-tier assets, and so you don't send bad trade offers on them. You send really, really, really good trade offers on them. But you can find an edge in the onesie positions. It's an area I want to explore in a Dynasty league if my team can sustain that value or benefit from it in this circumstance. The onesie positions also have the advantage of having slightly longer careers and slower, more gradual value arcs in that they hit peak and maintain that level of value because of the relative lack of players who ever have that potential for a longer period of time. And so I always like to try and explore the onesie positions in a Dynasty build. The fourth Dynasty trade I'm always looking to make at this time of year is actually the one we spend most of our time talking about. And that's sending offers on players you think, or someone you respect thinks, value isn't being appreciated in Dynasty right now. It could also be sleepers. But I describe them as mini markets because quite often you'll find players going through a period of value degradation or loss for very explainable reasons. And the market can't account for the fact that we know it's going to go up in the future when also pretty likely known events are going to happen. So this fits with Adam Harsted's heuristic on buy injured. A player is injured, he loses value, but we know more than likely he's going to be healthy again at some point, and yet the market cools on them. You can also look for players who are being undervalued for a news cycle, that particular period in the year, and those are fairly regular occurrences. Right now, the players that occur to me most when I look at Dynasty ADP, Kyler Murray will be healthy, will be a quarterback for an NFL franchise again at some point, and he's never not been a top 5 quarterback when healthy with that difference-making upside. First it was that he was short, then it was that he played video games, and now it's a combination of bad off-season narratives, but I don't understand why we're going to devalue him now, even though we know we're likely going to push him back into that category in 2, 3, 4 months. The other player that clearly stands out to me right now is Dak Prescott. He's in a tier of wide receivers that we're all lusting after, with Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle, and whoever your favorite young, proven, productive player is, where a lot of the vets get mixed in for those who, in the right roster construction, they can take that value hit for the more likely upside. And the third player that fits my micro market is DeAndre Swift. Everyone's forgotten that he has top 12 upside, at least on a weekly basis, while he's gone to a different team that uses running backs in a very particular way. He himself has not aged out of the running back position, and he's not been underproductive when available, if you can accept what he is at the NFL level. And he just looks like a very clear buy in terms of dynasty value when you're thinking about. So he and Aaron Jones have really been the only running backs I've been sending trade offers on all off season, outside of like CMC. Now, micro markets can also be a time of year. For example, right now we have a lot of rookies who we know, if you believe they're good, now is a good time to exploit the fact that a known value window is happening. As if they were injured, we know we're going to like them as much as we like Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave or Jamar Chase or anyone else if they hit. I don't like to be I like to be as risk averse as possible in Dynasty, but rookies are where I'm going to take my gambles because it's the one place everyone has a distinct disadvantage, including me. But if I feel like there's a player I want to bet strongly on, that's where I'm going to take my risk because the proportional upside is literally one of the elite players in a single year cycle. This is also where the vets get cheaper right after the season. Right now, we're heading towards the season, so Mike Evans and Cooper Kupp, their ADPs have started and will continue to rise right up to the season when they're scoring points again. I think any potential window on them has gone. There are some, however, that still have a little bit of lag because they haven't done much recently, but they are known and good and proven. Dak Prescott, I've already mentioned. He's kind of in that category. He's had 2 top 5 quarterback seasons in himself. Last year, when healthy, he was good. There's relatively little confliction about whether he can produce top 12 numbers at least, and yet he's in a tier with Trevor Lawrence, but everyone's fixated on trading for Trevor Lawrence as if having the 10 years is better than having the next 5 or 6 years in Dynasty, when we really should be working on shorter schedules than that. Similarly, Deebo Samuel, Chris Godwin, these are players we know have a lot of upside in their profiles. Kind of age, kind of recent disappointment is pushing them down in terms of their trade value, and I want to try and exploit that heading into this part of the offseason. Again, most of the time, these moves aren't going to be possible. You're not going to be able to tear up or sell the right sophomore or buy the right sophomore for that matter. Exploring the onesie position is going to return some snide, smug trade comments back about how that's not even close and they want to see how this year plays out, as if you will be sending the same trade offer if it didn't work out this year and you're not offering to take that risk off the plate. And all those sleeper trades result in you paying way too much for a guy that someone else has told you is going to be great, and then they will tell you that they didn't say send that much for him, as if there was any other way to get him in most leagues. Most trade offers result in declines or trade talks that don't go anywhere, but those are the 4 ways I'm trying to explore the trade market, mostly this time of year. I'm trying to tear up players by removing my depth, mainly more than trading draft picks, and trying to sell the right sophomores or get in position on the right sophomores that I want to be in the right position on if I have a very strong feeling one way or the other. And sophomore is an umbrella term not just for second-year players, but players in pivotal career years that I really have a strong reason to suspect are going to pay off. Exploring the onesie positions, especially at that elite level tier at the quarterback and tight end position, and looking for those sleepers, which is where most Dynasty content spends most of its time telling everyone to send trade offers. Now, there are other elements to which trade offer or other trade offers that you could possibly send, but if I'm trying to break it down, the offers that I'm always trying to make, especially this time of year in Dynasty, those are the 4 main categories of what I'm looking for on other people's roster. The next step, or the first step really, but I made this one first, is looking at your roster to assess what you need, where you're at, what type of trade-off is going to work best for you, and which direction your Dynasty team should be trying to move in. But that's going to be another video to try and keep these somewhat shorter. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there are trade offers in particular you think belong on kind of an evergreen type of trade list. Because I honestly think boiling it down to the type of offers that are mostly good most of the time to go and look for is better than telling you, oh, Kyler Murray is undervalued right now. Trade for Pat Freiermuth. Surely the person in your league perfectly agrees with what ADP says they should agree with. I don't think that works so well. But let me know what you think. Sorry for the hiatus. Trying to get back to it. And yeah, see you in the next one.